Well, hello, beautiful people. I kind of want to talk about is God's plans versus ours. So here's some context to give you. I'm going to be using my own personal life just to kind of get your guys' feedback and kind of just to see where you guys are on your walk with the Lord and what you have observed and where you think you are with Jesus. Anyway, long story short, gave my life when I was 20, had crazy God experiences. Anyway, there's been a pattern in my life that God has been really trying for me to just see, but because I haven't really been in a place of really observing God in my life. And just within the last few months, God kind of forced me into this being still and reflecting and examining. So, give you some context. Got saved at 20. And again was experiencing God. And at this time, I'd gone through a lot of pain, almost went to jail, got kicked out of my church. Long story. Ended up going to Bible college. That was a miracle in itself. God rescued me from a lot of pain. And Bible college was the start of my healing journey, which I didn't realize that was God's process as well. There is a process to sanctification, and I really want to teach on this and really go through the Bible on this, because I think a lot of people don't understand God's process, and it looks the same for everybody, but everybody goes through different experiences. But anyway, I had a lot of visions and dreams in Bible college. Well, kind of skip a couple years, I was taken advantage of in Bible college, learned about trauma and abuse, and then went to go help plant a church, which ended up completely failing in 2020. Got into a very toxic relationship that God asked me to be in, which I was so confused because he showed me who I was going to marry at Bible college. So, right, all of this stuff happens 2020. Prior to this, I thought I was moving to Australia because that's where I thought God was taking me. Nope. Completely changed my plans. And it's so funny. God is actually making me remember this. But at Bible college, I had a good friend come and ask me, Becca, if God were to take away Australia, would you still serve him? And I broke down crying and said no. Long story short, I saved up $30,000, was about to move to Australia, and then COVID happened. And in that time, me and my ex, my PTSD, my family had abandoned me. My church family has abandoned me. My Bible college friends abandoned me. One of my friends from Bible college actually is the reason why I ended up in Arizona, of all places. But I ended up burning that bridge when I got down here. Again, a lot of people don't know how to handle people when they are full of trauma and abuse. Anyway, the Lord took me on a journey. My ex followed me here to Arizona, leading up to 2021. My ex had kicked me out. I was at my lowest. And so I'm at my lowest. A bunch of people from work invite me out. And this is where I have my massive God encounter, and I meet the person that God gave me a vision of 5 years prior. And at this point, you guys, this was just, right? He tells me his birthday. He tells me his name. I literally, my jaw drops. I start shaking. I turn completely white. And he asked me if I was okay. And all I could say was, I love Christmas. Because God told me his name started with A. He lived somewhere that started with A. And his birthday was Christmas. That's all I had. And then this visual of his face. That's all I had about this man, you guys. And God brought me to him. And in that moment, I can't tell you. It makes me emotional because when God can meet you in a place where you just think it's over, you think your dreams are done, you think that everything you thought and believed for was a lie. My pain, the devil used my pain to deceive me to not believe in God anymore. But what God did was made himself real. In despite of my circumstances, in despite of how I felt, in despite of how I believed, he moved so that I could be woken up. Fast track to now. And I'm going to be very vulnerable. I have learned throughout the short 7 years that I have been through with the abuse, the trauma, the rape, and then even also the spiritual abuse from pastors. I strongly believe in do not cast your pearls before swine, but when it is something like a testimony, it has to be shared. And I'm not really ashamed anymore of my mistakes. I'm not ashamed of the sin that I do fall into because, again, God's grace is greater than the sin that I perform. Anyway, I've seen this man glimpses throughout the last 3 years, and I've just been so confused. And it's so funny because I remember at the beginning of this year, I felt like I was about to create an Ishmael, and that was because I didn't understand and I wasn't having faith for God's plan for my life. I wasn't trusting in his timing. I wasn't trusting in his ways. I was actually more relying on my own understanding and relying on, my own thoughts about things. And it actually led me, I gave in to the flesh and I gave in to sin, and I ended up falling into a relationship that I knew wasn't of God. And it's so funny too, because when I got into this relationship, I was talking with this man, and he also just gave his life this year. But because God was in the midst of that, even when we are in the midst of sin, it's so great how God works through people. Well, anyway, I'm so grateful for this man. This man came to me saying, God does not want us doing this anymore. I could not be mad at him. But this brought up in my heart the wound of rejection and abandonment, which I thought I had gone through with the Lord previously because of my ex. But because these cycles and these patterns were repeating, I ended up, how can I say this? The cycles of self-sabotage. Okay, fast track to today. I am now in a relationship with someone completely different, but I'm not falling into sin. But God has asked me to break up with this individual. Where I am, there's no more condemnation. There's no more shame. It's more of, okay, God, my sin has led me to the end of myself. And I thank you for that. I thank you for the sin that has, easily ensnared me, because I'm able to see where I'm messing up. And now I can examine myself and I can transform these thoughts in order to believe what you say, Lord. So if any of you have felt any guilt or condemnation about your mistakes or decisions, I am a biblical life coach. And again, I would love to help you overcome guilt and shame and condemnation, because that is not from Jesus. That is from the devil. But I kind of want to know what you guys are thinking when it comes to this area of God's plans versus ours, because his plans have overseeded my plans in so many ways. But I feel like a lot of people get caught up in the guilt and shame. And I would love to help you overcome that. Again, I am a life coach. Book a one-on-one with me. I would love to encourage you and edify you in who Jesus created you to be. Anyway, be blessed. Jesus loves you more than any person can.